Though it only seems like yesterday that Sony were on their stage announcing that the next generation of consoles were in fact coming, the era of the PS4 has been in full swing for nearly 5 years now. I know, it's crazy. It's been a half decade unlike any other as well, with mid-gen refreshes like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X expanding the lifespan of this generation and introducing the world to 4K gaming and HDR. Though that unconventional approach muddied things a little bit, it hasn't stopped rumours from swirling about when Sony are going to gear up to release the PlayStation 5. With Nintendo seemingly playing by their own rules and Microsoft making a convincing comeback, Sony can't afford to rest on their laurels and need to make sure they're ahead of the competition. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 7 best PS5 rumours you need to know.
But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done.
Number 7. Remote play or a hybrid console. One of the most underrated PS4 features is remote play. Initially confined to the underrated PS Vita, remote play has since been expanded to be far more accessible, to the point where all you need is a DualShock 4 and a laptop to play the best PS4 games wherever you want, as long as you've got an internet connection. It's not perfect though, and it's certainly not as simple as unhooking the Switch and plugging in the Joy-Cons, but it's clear that Sony are going to go down this hybridization route, or at least make remote play even more accessible going into the era of the PlayStation 5. In fact, patents have constantly suggested that Sony are back in the business of creating another handheld. And yeah, that could be a risky move if it's solely supported by its own games library, but if it can allow players to play PS5 games on the go, then that would be a huge get. There's even been the suggestion from Sony themselves that they would be interested in making a hybridized console that you can pick up and take wherever the hell you want with you, but for my money, that's getting a little bit too close to what Nintendo does so well, and it might lose some of their individual personality by following the competition that closely. Number 6. It will come alongside PSVR 2. Love it or hate it, Sony have always been about diversifying their hardware. In the past, this has led to some accusations that they'll throw out any old crap and then just let it die. We're looking at you, the PS Vita, but over the past generation, Sony have been releasing brand new technology and supporting it for a long duration, even finding new ways to implement it in brand new releases. The biggest success has been the PSVR though, which boasts by now quite a substantial library of great games. That said, the model currently on sale is an experimental first step, being a far more cumbersome peripheral than many casual consumers are willing to pick up and stick with. With the PlayStation 5 though, Sony are allegedly working on making their machine far more compatible with a brand new virtual reality experience. That includes a brand new, more accessible headset and potentially some VR goodies baked into the console itself. While bundling it in could be a little bit too close to the Kinect 2.0 that shipped with the original Xbox One, and we know how well that worked out, it could be a great idea to push VR technology, as it is genuinely unlike anything else out there. This isn't just the iToy or the Move, this is genuine next-gen stuff. Number 5. A great first and third-party launch lineup. Sony have created a stranglehold on the marketplace this generation, not only by being the place to be for great first-party releases, but also being a great platform for third-party titles. While they've already amassed a great library of games, there's even more in development, and it's not out of the question to see some of them showing up as launch titles for the PS5. Exclusives in the pipeline include Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding, which, even though it's been announced for years, doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon. This is on top of anticipated sequels like The Last of Us 2 and of course Horizon Zero Dawn 2, which hasn't been announced yet, as well as major third-party games like Cyberpunk 2077 and The Elder Scrolls 6, both of which have been described as next-gen games. And if you don't believe me, leaks have suggested that dev kits are out in the wild and that developers are hard at work creating next-gen experiences, which we might have already glimpsed. Number 4. Actual next-gen specs. Although both the base Xbox One and, of course, the PS4 were huge, substantial leaps above the likes of the Xbox 360 and the PS3, the tech they were running on even back in 2013 wasn't exactly cutting edge. But while the PS4 still had the best specs of the two back in 2013, since then, Microsoft have released the Xbox One X, which is being dubbed as the world's most powerful console and is something they've got a lot of mileage out of. Obviously, that's not a dynamic Sony want to continue into the next generation, though, and rumors suggest that they're not going to simply be resting on their current technology and instead striving for a true next-gen experience. In fact, it's been suggested that Sony are actually going to continue using AMD hardware, in particular the Navi graphics technology. Likewise, instead of using a modified Jaguar CPU, the next games console by Sony will apparently be based on the Ryzen series. If you're like me and don't have a clue what any of this jargon means without looking it up, I've been assured that this means the next PlayStation will be able to run at a stable frame rate with the kind of resolution you expect from a next-gen system. Number 3, a Game Pass style subscription service. Although at one point it looked like the entire industry was marching forward towards an all-digital future, Microsoft's monumental f***up back in 2013 made sure that would never happen for at least a couple more years. But that stigma is just now wearing off, and we've seen a lot of companies like Microsoft themselves get a lot out of streaming services and a focus on digital revenue. In fact, Xbox's Netflix-style Game Pass has been a huge success, and it's sort of revolutionized the way we interact with first-party releases. Where PS Now failed for being far too clunky, Games Pass has succeeded by allowing you to download entire games and not simply stream them from a third-party emulator. Sony seem to recognize this though, and it's rumored that they're going to release a new version of PS Now that allows people to download entire games, albeit only PS4 releases. At the very least, it's a step in the right direction and could pave the way for an even more substantial streaming-style, download-style service when the PS5 rolls around. Number 2, backwards compatibility. If Microsoft have Sony beaten on one front, it is definitely backwards compatibility. Sony have long since reaffirmed their staunch position on backwards compatibility being a no-go for PS4, but recent reports and leaks seem to suggest that they're working on something potentially for the PS5. Not only would this be a winning move because the company just has so many goddamn great titles just gathering dust in a virtual cupboard somewhere, but it might also ease the pain for people like me who bought into the PS4 Pro and might feel a little burned about having to pony up more money for a new console so soon after. It wouldn't ease the pain entirely, but it would go a long way if the PS5 was backwards compatible in making that transition a little easier to stomach. Number 1, a 2020 release date. Rumors of when Sony are going to drop their next PlayStation have been circulating for a while, with people saying it could be as early as next year, while other reports say 2020. It's that latter date though which seemingly makes more sense not only from a production standpoint but from a business perspective. Like I've just said, both Sony and Microsoft recently released those mid-gen refreshes, and expecting someone to pony up even more money so soon after would be a huge gamble on their part. Likewise, Sony don't really have an incentive to drop a console either this year, the next, or even potentially in 2020. Sony's roadmap of games is ridiculously strong, meaning they're covered until at least the end of 2019, and announcing a console before then could overshadow the great games that are yet to come on the PlayStation 4. Consequently, they can't announce something too early, but then they also can't wait too long, as Microsoft already soft announced a new Xbox at E3 this year, promising that they're working on something and it'll be coming sooner rather than later. PlayStation obviously won't want to be playing catch-up again then, and won't want to widen the margin between the world's powerful console and their admittedly great PlayStation 4 Pro. Consequently, then the 2020 release date seems about right. So that's all this. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you want these rumors to come true, or are you not one bit convinced that any of this is actually real? Either way, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz, and even head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Also, you might want to check out this video on 12 more hilarious video game translation errors, or check out this one which poses the question, what's the most damage you've done rage quitting? Trust me, you need to hear what Jules did as a kid. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, you've been watching What Culture, and I'll see you soon.